It's that time again.
Yep. We are Team Western.
And you are the most important thing to us.
Team Western.
Podcast. It's all about the team.
Hey, welcome to another exciting edition of the Team West Herb podcast. I'm Clay Moden with Brad Gelber, and we have got an exciting guest today. Actually, Brad, I feel like we're guests because here we are at the Plating Society. Chef Darian Bryan, thanks for having us here today.
Thanks for having me, man. It should be a good time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
get us caught up on we've got a lot of things to obviously go over with you, but get us caught up on what's happening with the Plating Society and about this great space.
So this is a private boutique, so you pretty much can book it up for private parties. Like most of the players, they come here for like peace and quiet, you know. Dinner parties I do every night. I do cooking classes here too. You can use it like a studio space if you want to do like product shoot. It's pretty much whatever you need a space for, you can have it.
Mm-hmm. And you have a restaurant as well.
Yeah, I got two restaurants in Larkin Square, Brad's Hill. People like, where does the name come from? Brad's Hill is where I grew up in Jamaica. Small little hill with like 6 houses, no electric, no running water. So I took my wife and kids back in February to show them where I grew up. I'm like, you know what, I should name my restaurant Brad's Hill. So that's where the name comes from, you know. And so the daytime restaurant is like, we call it Jerk Hut, fast, casual, just authentic Jamaican food. And at night we have the fine dining Jamaican, which is the only one in the country. Fine dining Jamaican, yeah.
Right here in Buffalo.
Right here in Buffalo, baby.
It's an incredible story that you have. I can't wait to hear more about what's been going on with you lately, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I think something, too, maybe for the people watching, you know, obviously you're pretty well known locally and now beyond just the area here. But I kind of want to hear your story in terms of, you know, how did you come not only to Buffalo, the U.S., like what's your journey, because you came from Jamaica, like you said, but a lot's happened since you got here. But, you know, kind of what brought you to the United States and then to Buffalo? I mean, it's not like, you know, if you didn't ever hear of Buffalo, it's not maybe the number one destination you choose. So, and I've always been curious what your journey was like.
So my journey, so my mom filed for us. I got 5 sisters, first of all, right?
Okay.
Only boy. You feel my pain, right? Them girls are something else.
5 sisters.
Only boy,
Incredible,
yep. Only
man.
boy. 5 sisters, only boy. So my mom was in San Diego. My sister was living here. Okay. So I have an option to choose. I come here in 2012 to choose either like San Diego or Buffalo. I'm like, there's no snow in San Diego. I want to experience something different. I always see snow on TV. I'm like, I wonder what it feels like. I want to touch it. I want to make a snowman. I still haven't made a snowman yet, man. It's too cold for that, man. So my kids are like, Dada, let's make a snowman this year. Maybe next year. He's been there for 5 years now. But, you know, so that's, I come here because I want to see snow and for college too. Okay. And the Buffalo love, man, it's amazing. And the first 2 years, I'm like, yo, you can take this snow thing back, man. Yeah. I want to go to California now. My mom was like, no, stay in Buffalo. And, you know, my first job was at Denny's in Delaware. You guys know Denny's in Delaware? Yeah.
Sure.
I actually live not too far from there.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
Your old stomping ground.
I've probably seen you a few times in there like 4 a.m. in the morning, you know, cooking your breakfast.
Maybe back in the day.
Back in the day. So that was my first job in America, teaching me all about American food. Never seen bacon a day in my life. Never seen pancakes, no moons over Miami, no lumberjack slam. We don't have that where I grew up, you know. So they teach me breakfast, lunch, and dinner, speed and consistency. And I went to ECC downtown for culinary arts. Started my own program called Caribbean Cuisine. When I was in school, nobody cooking Caribbean food, so I want to bring something new to the table. Then I did that. I used to go back and teach every semester because people love it. Then I went to Buff State for hospitality management, with the business side of stuff. Didn't like it as much because I'm like, I was in class taking notes every day. I'm like, I'm a chef, man. Put me in the kitchen. I want to cook. Yeah. But I'm glad I did that because it teaches me all the business stuff. And then I worked at Hutch's, Hutch's restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I was here for 4 years. I was a sous chef there. Then I left Hutch's and I went to Prima Cafe in Hamburg. Okay. That's where I met Vontae Davis, but that's a different story. Yeah.
We'll get into that.
We get into that. So I pretty much worked my way around town, you know what I mean?
It's a classic, like, they talk about the American dream story. This is it. I mean, you're absolutely living it right now. Do you feel like this is exactly where you envisioned this would go?
Exactly. Because, you know, when I come here, I see a gap where I could fill, right? Because I'm like, every chef is pretty much doing the same thing around here. I didn't want to do the same thing, right? So I dress different. I just change everything, like the dining experience, like opening something like this. But when I was in culinary school, I couldn't afford knife, books, nor uniform. And that never stopped me. I keep going every day, you know what I mean? And until my chef instructor, she's like, I saw your potential. I'm going to give you a book. She gave me a book, and I was on fire. I was doing all my homeworks and all of that stuff. So it's been a struggle. So that's why I know it's like people think I have it easy, and it just happened overnight. I didn't know what a celery was or bacon, you know what I mean? So it's just like me practicing and spending time on myself made me get this far, you know?
So in terms of cooking, obviously, you know, you mentioned that in the United States, at least, you got accustomed to the American cuisine through Denny's and things like that. But where did you actually find your passion just for cooking overall? Was it back, you know, in Jamaica around your family, your mom, you know, kind of like where did you discover that?
My mom, I would say, she have a cook shop back in Jamaica. It's like, it's a takeout spot, you know. There's no sit down involved. You just pretty much get your oxtail out the door, right? Just I help as a little kid in the shop every day, you know, doing rice and peas and oxtail and all that stuff. That's where the love developed for cooking. They start experimenting with my grandparents and I cook them all this weird stuff like crocodile tail and this weirdest stuff. And they used to love it. I'm like, I see the joy food bring to people. I'm like, I want to be a chef. Like, food bring people together. Food is love, you know what I mean? And me, from a big family, it was like 23 of us living in one house. Some sleep on the bed, some sleep on the ground, you know what I mean? And it was fun as a kid growing up, but now I look back, I'm like, I ain't going back to that life.
Right.
So that's what brings us together all the time. So, like, food. So I tried plumbing, that didn't work. The first day on the job, my man put his hand in some stuff. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Stick with the food.
I need clean fingernails, I need dumplings, you know? Then I tried electrical. I didn't like that either. I'm like, what do I love to do? I'm like, I love to cook. Yeah. So when I came here, I told my sister, I'm like, put me in cooking school. I was 20. And I'm like, I just want to cook. And she sent me for ECC, and that's where it all started.
Awesome. And you know, I think something you already mentioned that I wanted to kind of discuss with you too is you obviously have a bit of a unique style from, you know, a traditional chef, and you mentioned it too. You know, you got the fedora, you got your flashed out cook uniform and stuff like that you're wearing right now. Kind of how did your style develop? And I know you got like your own knife kit that you can sell now too.
Yep.
Like that's a, you know, it's a little bit different maybe just from a standard white coat, you know, chef that you see in fine dining type of things.
So my thing is redefining a chef, right? Take them from the back, put them in the front, like, because my station is right here pretty much.
Right.
So in order for me to do that, I have to dress up. I have to look a certain way. I'm not just, you know, I have just a regular jacket on. So I got my stuff custom made and just stay clean because I don't want you guys to be dressed up and smelling good and I just look like I'm just an average guy running around, you know what I mean? So you all dressed up, I'm dressed up too.
Sure.
So that's just my thing. And it's pretty much like my Jamaican background. We're known to be flashy and dressed up, so I'm just taking my background to the kitchen pretty much.
But when you cook and you're preparing meals for people, is it an experience for them, or are you like, you know, just do your own thing and I'll be here? You know, you mentioned obviously a great brand in terms of what you wear, but what about your performance per se?
Oh, it's a big experience because I never really seen much like this. When I first came, I saw Ibachi cooking. That's where the concept come from. I'm like, yo, this guy was like a rock star. He's blazing fire and saying, sake, sake. I'm like, this was this space across from Denny's, Tokyo too.
Yep.
I was speaking to the window. I'm like, yo, what's going on in there? People loving it. I'm like, I want to do something like that. So that's where this concept come from of cooking in front of people. Because, you know, chef, we're more than just like making delicious food, you know what I mean? We're taking raw ingredients and just creating something magical. We're entertainers, so we're like rock stars. But I don't think we get as much credit as we deserve, you know? That's why I'm trying to change up a little bit, you know? Just a little bit.
I think it's working. But how often does it happen where you're still trying to create something new? I mean, you obviously have got food that you obviously perfected. But how often are you trying to recreate things or try something new?
It never stopped, almost every day. Like today I was upstairs, well, I live upstairs, so I'm like, what can I do different? Like, because I'm changing the menu next week for my new restaurant. I'm like, I want to do some curry goat ravioli, something different that you don't really see around here, you know what I mean? So food never stops. It's always new ingredients, always new techniques. So I was trying to stay within the know to see what's happening, what I can do differently with my cuisine. Like Jamaican cuisine is my background, right? But I like to merge French, Italian, Jamaican, all of the Asian together because I learned all of those throughout my career.
And do you still try it out on your family first?
Oh, yeah, big time. You know, I'm a neighbor, so I'm not going to do it like, you want to try this real quick? And watch them eating it too. Like,
Who would say no? Like, sure, I'll try that.
My kids are funny too because they'll eat all of that stuff. My daughter, she love anything scallop. My son like lamb. They're something else. They're 5 and 4. You think they're like 25.
I think there's a lot of parents who'd like to take advice on how to make that happen, other than just chicken fingers and
We were on this cruise and they're
noodles.
like, you want rack of lamb on the cruise, and the server's like, that's not on the kids menu. He's like, it's on the adult menu though. I'm like, how do you know that? You're 4 years old. It's something else.
I think something too, maybe, obviously we're a very passionate football town here in
Yep.
Buffalo, and you've become ingrained in the community here, as you kind of said, and the Buffalo love and everything like that. But I think people may be familiar with you a bit too for your connection to some of the players over the years, whether it's Stefan Diggs, probably the most notable name. But you were talking to us before we started filming, kind of about your journey with that specifically. So why don't you tell us a little bit about? I know it started with a name maybe Buffalo fans aren't super fond of, but
They all know the story though.
Vontae Davis
Yeah.
was kind of your introduction into the player world. So kind of talk us through that, because that's definitely a unique kind of world to be in, and you've become fully ingrained in it now.
Yeah, so I met Vontae. I was opening a restaurant in Prima Cafe in Hamburg. And, the guy walking, I'm like, who's this black guy walking here? You don't see black folks in Hamburg. I wasn't one of the black men walking around for like 2 years. And I'm like, okay. So I was just talking to him. I never watched football a day in my life. I'm from Jamaica. I play soccer. And he's like, I came here last week. I'm playing for the Buffalo Bills. I'm like, that's a football team, right? And he's like, yeah, that's a football team. And I'm like, he's like, you're looking for a personal chef. And then I started cooking for him. Then he retired. He fly me to Miami to these events for him. I meet all these players from the events, and they fly me to wherever they live. So I was all over the place for a minute there. Then I started doing meal prep for the guys, and then Diggs came in town and hit me up because he heard that I was the guy to go to for meals.
Sure.
But Diggs want more of like an in-home, not just like meals. You don't like old, he call it old food. He's like, that's old food. If it's in the fridge, you don't want it. Like, you want it fresh.
Yeah.
That boy is something else, man. But you want it fresh, and that's how I meet all these other players, because you put in a group chat, chef is coming over.
Yep.
Everybody is there, So that's all. I got introduced to Josh and Tyrell Dodds and most of the guys from Diggs' house. And Gabe, love the guy, man.
Are they pretty picky eaters when it comes to what they want, or perhaps what they can or can't eat?
So Diggs just sent me a list of all these stuff they want to eat for the night, right? I'm like, wait a minute. This is like 8 items. I'm not a restaurant. I'm a private chef. I have to cook all of these. Let's cut it down to like 4 or 3. Yeah. So one night I asked him, I'm like, why you always send me this list of stuff? He's like, to be honest with you, we just like practice just thinking about all this stuff we want to eat.
That's why you shouldn't shop when you're
Gabe
hungry.
want oxtail. Gabe always want oxtail. Diggs want some seafood pasta. This guy want this. This guy want lemon pepper wings. This guy want broccoli. It's just like, I'm like, I can't make all of this in 3 hours, so we got to cut it down.
Yeah. And you mentioned, too, I just thought this was interesting. I think people maybe look at, being a chef, and they don't understand maybe the nuances or the time that goes into it. And you were saying, part of the reason that it's tough to do the meal prepping or be a private chef is you got to go do the shopping. You got to make the food. You got to drive it out to where they live.
Yep.
So all of a sudden the day's gone, and you still got restaurants to be at. You still got private events here at the Plating Society.
Yeah.
So I guess, how do you balance it all, or where have you found that, you can kind of do the things you love to do, but maybe trust some of your team members to help, or, because that's an adjustment as well.
So it was just me for a long time, and it was stressful because I have to do the dishes after, which I hate doing the dishes, but there was nobody else. It's in the middle of COVID too, like nobody want to work, and I was doing like dinner parties too. I'm prepping for like 12 players, and everybody, as we say, if they're picky about stuff, everybody got their different diets, right? Like, I talked to most of their nutritionists, and they're like, oh, they should be eating this amount of grain, protein. There's dietary restriction, no butter, no this. So I have to cook like separate meals for these guys. It would have been great if I could just cook a big pot
Right.
and just dish it up. But everyone have their different diets. I have to tailor to all of those diets. And cool it down, bring it to them, store it properly. It's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I'm like, I'm just done with this. I'll come to your house and cook for the night, but it's just too much.
Yeah.
I'll come and cook for the night, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
But now I have chefs in home for these guys, like full time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I don't have to go there. Well, I'll show up once in a while and see how the account is running, but pretty much, I just hire people.
Other than Buffalo players, who's the most famous person who's reached out to you to cook for them?
The most.
Is it always sports?
You know what's crazy? It's always, well, Conway, Conway the Machine.
Sure.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of stuff for him. But it's always sports. I don't know why.
Yeah. Once you're in, you're
And
in.
I've invited to like the Jamaica president, prime minister reach out, and him and his team, they have me come have dinner with them, but I didn't like cook for him. I just like come and enjoy his presence,
That had to be a pretty special moment.
It is. So they invited me to Jamaica too to cook for the prime minister a while back.
Jeez.
That was before, football and all that stuff. It was just like up and coming in Buffalo. They heard about me, and Kathy Hochul, or governor. Yeah, I cooked for her too when she was here in Buffalo.
Is there somebody who you'd love to cook for? That reach out to me sometime.
I would say DJ Khaled or Drake, because they love Jamaican food. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you know what? I want to show them what's up. You know what I mean?
Hey,
because
Drake's been shouting out
think,
Walden Galleria.
They think they're Jamaican too. I'm like, you know what? I want to cook for them to show them real flavors. You know what I mean? But those guys, I would love to. And Gordon Ramsay, I'd love to cook for him too. Even though he's a chef, but I would love to. He was my guy coming up in the food scene, because I was watching all of his videos. Yeah. I didn't hack like him though, because Gordon Ramsay's crazy. But I would love to cook for him though. Sit him down and have him, enjoy my food, and because he's a tough guy to please.
Is it hard for you to go to a restaurant with that in mind? I mean, are you very critical, or when you go out, it's like, I'm just going to go enjoy this. I'm just
going to enjoy it. Yeah. But if I pay big bucks for it, I'm going to complain. I'm not going to complain to them, but I'm going to say to my wife, like, "Did you try that?" But I won't complain to them, because I know it is. I have 3 restaurants, I mean? I know sometimes you have bad nights, sometimes you have good nights, and it is what it is. So I don't like to go places and eat food that I cook every day, because it's like, I cook it myself, so it's going to be better. Like, they're rushing it, trying to feed all his mouths. So I go to like ramen spot, like Sata Ramen. I love that place. The kids love it too. And just go to places the food I don't cook every day, what I mean? That's Indian. I love Indian food. Asian. I don't cook that stuff every day, what I mean? Yeah.
And someone you mentioned Chef Ramsay, who's a TV personality as well as being a chef.
Yeah.
You've had some cool, unique experiences since you've kind of come on the scene. I know you were on Food Network. You've had some different appearances, whether it's ESPN, some of these places, because of your connections with the players.
Yep.
Kind of talk through like how comfortable are you doing that stuff? I know we're on a podcast here. You're pretty comfortable, but like just in terms of even being on Food Network, because I don't know, maybe that was a goal for you and you got to do it, or was it just kind of a surprise? Because watching Gordon Ramsay do it on TV is one thing, but then doing it yourself, that's a whole different experience.
I'm glad you asked that, because I used to watch Food Network all the time, right? I'm like, oh, you should have done this with that ingredient. Right. Like Chop. I always want to be on Chop.
I'm the same, and I don't even cook. So I'm just like, idiot. You can just hurry up.
I was on my goal list to be on Chop, and until I actually get there, I see the big lights, and I'm like, I see the big Chop sign, and I see Ted Allen show up and all these big Food Network giants, right? I'm like, yo, I'm here. Yeah. And first round, when you pop the basket open, you forgot how to cook. It's like, yo. It's totally different from sitting on the couch and eating snacks and, talking smack to other chefs, Yeah. You're actually in it to say, yo, I'm here. It's crazy. Right. But it's a good experience. I meet a lot of big names in the industry, connect with a lot of chefs. I've been on Supermarket Takeout and Chop, and I might be going on another big show in a couple of months. So
heard it here first.
Right.
Fingers crossed on that one. Should be a good time though.
So obviously something you mentioned earlier was when you came to the United States, you weren't familiar with the sport of football, what we call football, just pure football, which is soccer. Since now you are, cooking for these guys, whether it's Diggs or some of these other players, do you find yourself now watching the games? What are you doing for the games? And because these guys off the field, and I think it's a little different. And even myself meeting the players, you almost have a different respect for them when you know them as human beings, aside from just objects on a TV playing football.
Yep.
So how do you watch football? Do you watch football? Are you an expert now on the game? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not an expert, but I'm still learning every day, because it's still kind of new to me. But I watch it every day. Well, not every day, but every time it's on, I'm always watching it. But it's crazy. I never used to watch football, and I happen to be cooking for football players. But my mindset is just so different from from most people I know. I'm like, my thing is always like, these guys are making millions, right? And I'm sitting there for 3 hours watching these guys making millions, and I'm broke. So I'm just gonna work on my craft.
Sure.
And it's crazy. I'm cooking for them now. I don't know what happened there, but I was just busy working on my craft and perfect my craft instead of just like sitting there watching football for 3 hours when I could be working on myself. Sure. I feel like I was behind because it's like everything is just so new to me, food-wise coming here. So I just like spend time on myself night and day, every day, practicing my knife skills, making stocks, all this stuff I don't know. And that happened. It's crazy because a few players ask me, have you been watching the games? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, you don't say nothing. I just never say anything, you know what I mean? And they always give me crap because if they, catch a ball or a touchdown, they want to say, yo, good game,
praise.
man.
The praise.
I don't know it enough to talk about it, so I just don't talk about it. You know what I mean?
There's probably a positive to that too, because if you're too much of a fan, then maybe you're a little critical too. So if you're just kind of keeping to yourself, they can just go about and eat their food.
They're like, well, you never talk about the game. I'm like, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
And at times they'll be like, debating about which player is the best on the team. They're trying to pull me in. I'm like, I'm not coming in this one because I don't know enough about football to talk about. You know what I mean? But it's all love, though. You know what I mean? It's like family. That's why it's so easy for me to just be there all the time and just chill. Like at times I'm at their house. It's like sometimes at Josh. And I'm like, I'm heading home. They're like, let's go by the fire and chill a little bit. I'm like, how come? It's just like I'm working. You do what you do. That's why I love Josh so much. He's a great guy, right? He's like, you respect me as a chef on what I do. He's like, people pay me to play football.
Right.
Like I do what I do. I'm on top of my game. You cook. Yeah. That's what you do. You're on top of your game. It's just two different things, Right. And that I respect that he noticed that, you know what I mean? Like, I do what I do, you do what you do.
Right.
Are they last minute with you? Is it like if they called right now and they said, hey, I need you to cook for me tonight?
It's a last minute?
Does it work like that?
No such thing. That's their life, though, because they be craving something. Chef, I want to eat. When? What? It's like 12 o'clock? No, well, 2 o'clock. No. It doesn't work like that. I got to go buy all these ingredients. I got to prep, and I got to get there. Diggs is the best. You want oxtail in like 2 hours. I'm like, oxtail take a long time to cook, my boy. But
that
I try to make it work, though,
Oxtail seems to come up a lot in the menu.
Yeah, because that's like their favorite thing.
Huh.
Yeah, they love oxtail. I make a mean oxtail, too. You got to try some on my spot next door.
I've never had it, but where do you go to find it? Where do you get it to prepare it? Is it something you have to order
I got Sloan Market.
Okay.
I get all my meat from there.
Okay.
So they're on Ryman Street, and you can go get amazing. Like all my steaks are from there too. The marbling is ridiculous. They do a really good job over there.
When it comes to steaks, always medium rare. Do you get offended if anybody
I
asks for more
learned
than
my
that?
lesson from that, for dealing with these players, right? And
You're walking lightly, I can tell.
It's like it's whatever you want to eat, right? Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you to eat it medium rare when you don't want it medium rare. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm here to make you happy. I'm not one of those chefs like, I want to cook it well done. I'm like, you want it well done? I'm gonna cook it well done. I'm gonna make sure it's delicious, but it's gonna be well done. I'm not gonna have you look at the steak like I'm not eating this because it's pink. Right. And a few players have cooked like medium for them. They're like, they look at me and I never have it like this before. I'm like, you trust me, right? They're like, yeah, try it.
Give it a shot.
And they're hooked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only way to eat it, in my opinion.
Yeah. So,
but I don't play football, so that's probably why.
You like what you like. I just make whatever you want, and that's what it comes down to. I'm here to please people. That's what I do.
And something too, you also mentioned earlier, and I, this kind of stuck with me before we started filming. Just you mentioned kind of your past in terms of how you grew up, and you took your family back there and kind of showed them, and it was comical in the sense that your kids were kind of like, Dad, you lived here, and you were like, yeah, like this was my house. Yeah. But as you said too, it's part of what's driven you to become successful, and I think that's a really, as Clay said earlier, like the American dream or that story for you, it has to be a little surreal maybe when you even yourself go back and kind of see, where you came from and where you are now. That just in terms of that whole journey for yourself, is it surreal, or do you just kind of every day you kind of thank yourself for getting to this point?
It is, because it's like I put in the work each and every day, so I don't have to go back to that. Yeah. And when I'm working, I always keep it in the back of my head, like, you know what? I know where I'm coming from, and I'm not going back to this. So that's why there's so much opportunity here. I just don't feel like we make use of it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because we're born into it, so it's like nothing. But with me coming in from the outsider, you know what I mean, and see so much I could do. That's why I'm in everything every day. You see me somewhere doing something, a fundraiser somewhere, trying to help people out, because I'm like, I cook. That's what I have to offer. If you need me, I'm a cook. I don't care about the money. I'm just scared about. I love people, you know. I mean, I'm a people person, you know, and that's what I do. I cook. And looking back to where I'm coming from, I didn't have much growing up, and I used to walk miles to get water, and you know, I just didn't never complain. That's how it is. And with me coming here, I have everything at my fingertip. I flip a switch, I have light. Turn the water on, I got water. Like, there's different temperatures in the shower. We used to go to the river every day to take a bath. All of us in the river. Yeah. There's no shower, and the water is cold. The river water is cold. Yeah. So when I come here, I'm like, yo, I'm dancing, I'm singing in the shower. We have hot, we got cold, we got warm. Why are we complaining? Right. I got a car. I used to walk everywhere and ride bicycle, you know what I mean? So it's like, got a house, got a beautiful wife, 2 kids. I'm like, why am I complaining? There's so much to be thankful for here. So I'm like, you know what? I get up every day like, magical Monday. Let's make this bread, man.
Yeah.
That's just the way I roll. I just take it easy and no pressure, no problem, man.
Do your kids seem to aspire to be cooks and chefs at all?
My daughter, she's the youngest. She calls herself Chef Nina.
Chef Nina.
There you go.
She want to make ramen noodles every day, though. Let's just make some ramen noodles. I'm like, ramen noodles again? Because I love me some ramen noodles, too. Don't judge me, man. Yeah. Put some eggs and some scallions in that thing. Because after, like, cooking fine dining food every day and eating it every day, when I go home, I'm, like, exhausted. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and make some ramen noodles. I'm going to just eat and just like, yes. Yeah. It was a good night.
That makes me think of, I wanted to ask you this, because we've talked about this to other people in different professions, and Clay already kind of hinted at it when he asked you kind of, you know, in terms of going to a restaurant, are you critical of chefs and things? Do you watch shows or movies about chefs? One that popped into my head was, you know, The Bear is a popular show that's about a chef, and yes, chef, all that stuff kind of sticks with me. But do you get into that, or is it too hard? Does it make you feel like you can't kind of dial out from being a chef when you're watching a show or a movie about chefs?
So it's like, I saw the first 2 episodes of that show, and I couldn't watch it because it's just too much. Cause I don't treat people that way. Sure. So I'm like, I can't watch, because I know of chefs who treat people that way, and that's just a lot of kitchens are like that. Yep. So people come and work for me, they're like, yo, you're so different, you're so nice. But they take that, you know, for granted at times when you're too nice to them, you know. Because they're so used to being abused in the kitchen. And with me being so nice to them and giving them whatever they want, they're like, they didn't know how to handle it, you know what I mean? Right. But
what about Ratatouille? That's
I love that show, man. That movie is amazing. Yeah, I love that movie.
Anyone can cook.
Yeah.
Anyone can cook, man.
That's one of the favorites in my household too.
Yeah, so. I love that movie, but I just don't treat people the way. I watched this one episode because it was based on this book. I was back there. Unreasonable Hospitality. Yep. That one episode was based on it, you know, and I did watch it. That was a good one. Yeah. But other than that, I live that life, so I'm like, I don't want to be watching it. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But I did watch this one movie called The Menu. Have you seen The Menu?
No, I don't.
It's this chef invite all these people.
I think I saw the preview. Yeah,
it was crazy.
I didn't want to see it though.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I didn't. I was watching it on a plane, and the plane was getting like too rough and turbulent. I was scared from the movie and the plane. I'm like, I just shut it off. I'm like, I can't watch it. But it's a good movie. It's nice to the storyline behind it, but. I do watch cooking shows, and like if I know I'm going to be on a show, I watch a few episodes to see
get familiar with it,
what it's going to be like, and the requirements. Other than that, I just cook and just, you know, enjoy myself with the family.
Chef Darian, what's next then? Are you looking bigger picture, New York City? I mean, is Buffalo going to be your home forever? Are you looking to expand your brand to larger markets?
Give us the inside scoop.
I mean, we can't find out about the show yet.
I'm glad you asked that because, so I just visited New York City. I was there for like a week last week, right? And people have been saying like, there's a bunch of people from LA. Like, there's no good Jamaican spot in LA. I'm like, really? They're like, they need something like what I'm doing here in Buffalo in LA, like a fine dining Jamaican. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so my wheels turning. I'm like,
there we go.
I might be heading to LA to open a fine dining Jamaican spot. You know what I mean? But other than that, I want to open at least 2 more of these. I was thinking Miami for one of these, like a showman kitchen. I love Toronto too, man. It's like that's like my second home.
Yeah.
It's so close.
It's
The
amazing.
wife and kids love it, so why not?
When you go to Toronto, you're like, I realize it's an international city, but when you get there, you're like, this is a vibrant international city.
Yep.
Yeah.
An hour and a half away from
Yeah,
here.
it's crazy.
It's like it's
You see a
perfect.
mixture of everybody over there. It's just like the Jamaican population is big over there too. So I want to do something over there, and just doing some more Food Network show, get myself out there, and just keep growing and expanding, man.
Maybe that'll be the connection with Drake then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see him
There you go.
somewhere.
Buffalo,
visit you there.
Toronto, it all makes sense.
All makes sense, man. We're just neighbors, right?
Yeah, right.
Why not? Let's do it.
Something as we kind of wrap up here, because I know our time with you is limited, but you've really, I think, grown your brand by being connected through social media and things. I know you and I have even engaged over the years, and that's kind of how I got to know you even before meeting you. That's a little different though, because you as a chef, sometimes you're so focused on the food and this and that. So but I think you've seen maybe the importance in growing your brand or your restaurants and things on social. So for you, kind of like, how did that happen too? Like, cause I don't know if I know you kind of went to business school, you had some business background, but that seems to be a unique route maybe for a chef to really use social media to kind of promote the brand as a whole.
I know people eat with their eyes, right? So if they see it, they're gonna want it. And people been watching my story for a year, like my Instagram stories of my food and like my plating, and they just love it. So I think it's important for me, whatever I'm cooking, just show it.
Right.
Get them engaged and they share it to their friends and people follow along. So it's very important to be as a chef, like to just always documenting everything you're doing.
Right.
Get them hooked. My wife is always on me, you gotta be taking more stories, and because she works with me full time now, she's like my backbone, right? She's, the one behind me, pushing me every day. Yeah, lions don't need push, but, she pushed me every day, you know what I mean? But she been great, and she helped with that too,
Yeah.
But you can't stop marketing yourself, man. Just always on to the next, and just document all of those dishes, and people see it, they're going to want it.
Yeah.
And with me opening this space now that's open to the public, people going to come.
Yep.
Because, it's been a while. And people do pop-ups here and there, come to my pop-ups. But with me, I have a spot now, people to come to. It's just, because this is private, you only have to, you can book it for a private dinner, but it's not open to the public.
Yeah. Was there any sort of fear, hesitation? Because I think we've all seen, even during COVID, some of the volatility within the industry of restaurants, like closing or opening this and that. For you to go into actually opening public-facing restaurants, was that like an all-time dream of yours? Like you knew you wanted to do that, or was it kind of like just as the journey presented itself to you, that was the logical next step for you, type of thing?
Yeah, so a good question. So when I first came here, I'm like, I want to do a fine dining Jamaican restaurant because I noticed there's none around.
Yep.
I didn't know that there's none in the country because they've seen it done one way. It's just a takeout spot, right? So everybody just do the takeout. They had never seen. Because with my fine dining background from, working at Hutch's and being 4 years in college, like it makes sense for me to do something upscale because that's what I preach every day, So with COVID, it's crazy because I was doing in-home with COVID, and when that ended, which is still kind of going around, I was like, it makes sense for me to open a restaurant where people can come to, other than just the private stuff.
Yeah.
Which that's what we did, man, and it's been great.
Yeah.
Booked every night, so it's a blessing,
Yeah, for sure. And I think my last question, I don't know, Clay, if you have anything more. I have a lot of questions for you, Chef, but in terms of...
Let's keep it going, man.
What's the hardest dish you've ever made, and what's a dish you've not yet tried, but you one day would aspire to try out to make?
So the hardest thing, I wouldn't say dish, it's like a sauce, Bernaise sauce. Yep. It took me years to perfect that thing. Because it's so tricky, right? The egg yolk's going to be at the right temperature. The butter going to be at the right temperature. You can whisk too fast. You can add the butter too fast. That's it break. It's a pain. And I feel like I just mastered that like a couple of years back. And every time I make it, looks good, then it just separate. So I mastered that one now. And something that let me see.
An aspirational goal for you in culinary?
I don't know. There's so much different cuisine. Jollof rice, like Nigerian. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I hear it's like a Nigerian. My wife love it.
Okay.
I made it once. She said it was not like what she used to. I think I want to make it one more time because it's so popular too. You know what I mean? But there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people doing like the gastronomy stuff. I would like to mess with it at some point, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not for Buffalo because
Right.
Buffalo people want to eat.
Right.
I just did, you know, something, the food tour in New York City, and I'm like, I see the dishes. I'm like, really? That's what we eat here in New York City? Buffalo people look at me like I'm crazy if I serve them that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Buffalo folks want to eat. You know, especially before game day, them boys like, we want to eat, chef. Let's go. You want pasta? We want this? I'm like, they want to eat.
Yeah.
And I believe in feeding people.
Right.
That's what I do, baby.
Right.
Well, thanks for having us here today.
Of course, man.
Certainly,
Thanks for having me.
If somebody wanted to book this, how do they get a hold of you for the private portion of this?
So you can go on my website, theplaydingsociety.com. You see a book me link, hit it, and find a date that works for you. I'm a booking manager, Alexa. She'll reach out to you and help you plan it. It's whatever you want to eat, too. Like, there's a master menu on the website. If you don't see anything you like, I can pretty much cook whatever you want, you know what I mean? So that's how you go about doing that. And the Bratzel in Larkin Square is just open to the public.
Yep.
So we do Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2:30 for the takeout portion, and Wednesday through Saturday for the upscale sit down at 5 to 10.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can follow Chef Darian on his social channels too, because like I said, if you see the food, you're definitely gonna want to eat it.
Eat with your eyes, baby. You gotta make it appealing.
Starving after talking about this whole thing. So thank you very much for your
Of
time.
course, man. Appreciate y'all.
Best of
Much
luck
love.
to you, too.
Let's go.
Well, another great edition of the Team Western podcast for Brad Gelber. I'm Clay Moden with Chef Darian. We'll see you next time, and let's go Buffalo.
Let's go.